To the Dots and Strips quilt. This is a little tutorial on how I've gone about making this quilt. It's relatively simple, it's dots and strips. However, we do have to keep some attention on keeping things straight. So this is the quilt. And there's lots of straight lines on it. I've done straight line quilting, I've got straight strips, and then I've got round dots. Funnily enough, dots are round. And they're raised up. I've got Kurumi buttons in the circles here, which is really nice. It gives it just a little bit more texture. So with all the flat strips, the flat quilting, and then the nice texture of those raised circles, I'm really pleased with it. I think it's going to look really good on my wall. So we'll go ahead and do some of the aspects of some of the ways I've made the quilt so that you can see what I've done there. So I thought we'd just have a little chat about the fabrics. These fabrics for this pattern, I've got a nice diagram of the quilt here. As you can see, it's just done in strips. So the strips are 2.5 inches wide, and I've used this time, they're solid colours, but they're Hoffman Inder solids. So they're a batik type cloth, but they're just the solid colours. They're very delicious to work with, and they come in this lovely array of very natural sort of earthy tones, as well as many other colours as well, of course. But I've picked these nice earthy tones this time because probably that's kind of what I like, and it just seemed to suit. So I've already got my fabrics as 2.5 inch strips. Sometimes we need more than one of a colour, and I've got some set aside over here. These are going to be for my binding, but really just 2.5 inch strips. And the pattern's going to show you how long to cut some of the strips where we've got some of these joins, so that these lighter areas where we've got the circles on top can be joined in. So that all is in the pattern information. The circles are put on later after we've pretty much finished the whole quilt. And these are these little plastic buttons. They're called Kurumi buttons, and they come actually from Japan, and they come in a variety of sizes, and we cover those, and then we're going to hand stitch them on later, so we can go through that a little bit later. I just thought we'd talk a little bit about these fabric strips, and also there'll be some circles for you to trace on the pattern in approximate sizings to do the covering circles for your buttons. So that's done a little bit later though. Once you've got these all cut to length and you've joined up your joined strips, then we'll be joining the whole lot of strips together. So I'll go and prepare some of that, and then we'll come back and talk about how we're getting on. So I've cut all my strips to length according to the pattern, and you can see on the diagram that it shows you the size of the strips that we're going to be using with the colours. I do strongly suggest that you label all your fabrics with the row number so that you don't get them mixed up as you're putting them together, because it would be quite easy to mix them up. And the other thing I would be careful of with a pattern like this that looks like it would be very simple because it's just some strips sewn together, and of course that is what it is. However, because we've used some solid colours and things, it matters that the lines stay as straight as you can possibly get them. Now, fabric does wander a little bit, but try and keep them as straight as you can. So I've actually already fused this onto a batting. The batting I prefer is this Hobbs fusible batting. It's an 80-20 cotton poly, but it's fusible on both sides, and it's just a light fusible, and it just means that you can fuse your fabrics on and you can keep them straight, which is, as I said, such an important thing. It's very easy to reposition. If you've ironed it and it's not right, it just peels easily and repositions with using an iron to position it all. So I've already put a backing on, I've got the front on, I've got the pieces as straight as I can get them, and now I'm going to go to the machine and do some just straight line quilting. I'm going to quilt it all and bind it before we do anything with the little Kurumi buttons to put the dots on. So the leftovers from cutting the strips, where we've cut the strips shorter of the colours that corresponds will be going down there, using the little circle shapes to cut out to put the little buttons on, but I'll show you that shortly. So I'm just going to go and do some straight lines now. So I've started doing some of the straight line quilting. Probably not easy for you to see just at the moment, but we'll give you a close-up a bit later. What I've done at the moment is stitch down some of the strips about 1/8 of an inch away from the actual seam. So not in the ditch, but maybe 1/8 of an inch away. I've lengthened my stitch to a 3.5 size, or slightly bigger than your normal stitches on your machine, depending on what machine you have. And I'm going to be coming back and stitching the other side so that I stitch both sides of the seam about 1/8 of an inch away, and then I'm going to do some more lines in between, and I'll come and show you how to do that later. But just to get started, because I want everything to make sure it stays straight, I've just done some randomly. So I've done a couple of extra lines there, but I've done a line there, I've done one there, I've come back down that side, I've done another one over here. So not every strip, I've just gone along and I've done right down the very edge, right on the sides of on both sides of the quilt, so that everything now is held in place. Nothing will move anymore because I've got some stitching in. So now I can come back and relax a little bit more about that sort of thing and do all the rest of the straight lines. So I'm just going to be doing a lot of straight lines on this quilt. So that's how that's going for now. So I thought I'd show you just doing some of the quilting. As you can see, I've done a lot of quilting already, but I've still got a little bit to go, and I've got my walking foot on. The walking foot helps the fabric feed from above as well as below, and I'm just doing straight lines. So I'm just following, my walking foot is just inside that seam line there, so I'm just following that line down there, and it just feeds really nicely. So I'm doing that down this, as you can probably see here, this side, then I've come down the same distance in from that one, and then I've come right down the middle. Now if you're not confident or sure that you can follow a straight line like that, a little bit of practice will help, but also maybe just a strip of masking tape. You could put that along there, and that would be just an extra little guide for you. Masking tape's great because it just lifts without leaving any residue behind, and it doesn't get in the way when you're sewing and all those sorts of things. So there's things like that that can help you, or there are guides that you can put on your foot that will just like a little arm that comes out. But mostly I find that I can just do things using the edge of the foot with some seam lines and things. So it's just a matter of following that all the way through. So I've finished the quilting. Now I'm going to be trimming the quilt. Well, I've already started trimming my quilt. So I've just got lots and lots of parallel lines on there. I've got a nice big ruler here. Doesn't have to be this big, but a larger one is helpful at a time like this. And I'm just going to trim the sides now. I've done all the other edges. With a quilt that's very straight like this one is, it's a good idea to make sure that when you trim the top and the bottom in particular, that everything is level and straight, because you don't want it to be hanging all crooked. I'm expecting that I would probably hang this one as a wall hanging. So I think it's a good idea to do a double check at this stage when you've done the trimming to make sure that everything's the same. So you can check that the sides are parallel and even by folding over and checking that both ends are meeting. That's one way of making sure that the sides are straight and level and the ends of the straight are straight, and exactly the same thing but folding it the other way. Again, just making sure that everything is sitting straight and flat and level, so that when your quilt is hanging, everything is sitting straight and level. So this is the top of my quilt, and I know that because I put a clip in it to make sure. So it's now ready for binding. The little buttons that we're going to sew on, they go on afterwards, after the quilt is finished. Because I'm going to hang this, I'm going to put a little hanging sleeve on. So I've already made my sleeve. It's just a strip of fabric that is just a little bit shorter than the quilt is wide. I've doubled it over. I like to do a double one. I've hemmed in the sides already into the inside, and I'm just going to pop that onto the back. Now I'm going to be machine binding the quilt, so I will sew that in at the same time as I attach my binding, but I will probably clip it on in place first so that I know and don't forget to put it in, or I could do an extra row of stitching and do it now before I come around with the binding, but I think I'll just do it. It's only a small quilt. With a larger quilt I probably would sew it on so that it didn't get caught up in anything. And I've got my binding all ready here. I've already joined up my strips. I like to join them with a diagonal seam. I like to start with a folded over point and put it on all the way around, and then, after you've started it, you leave a little gap after you've sewn the point on so that there's somewhere to tuck the other end in, and I just fold it as I go do my little mitered corners, and then I tuck the other end in when I come back, and I sew that onto the back of the quilt so that I can turn it over and machine it down onto the front. If you would rather do a hand-stitched binding to the back, then you would need to sew it onto the front of the quilt, take it to the back and hand sew. But I will be machining mine both sides. It's a great idea, again, to use the walking foot like we've used for the quilting. That helps feed everything through nicely with the binding as well. So I'll go ahead and get my binding on, and then I'll show you how to do the little Kurumi buttons. So I've finished my quilting. I'm going to be covering all these little Kurumi buttons. These are in different sizes. Obviously, we're just doing these graduated sizes coming down on the strips where we've done a join. So the colour that's at the top of the join is the colour we're using for covering the buttons down below it. And as you can see, somebody's been having a little nibble. I have to say that for this particular job, it's just a little bit fiddly. I think maybe an octopus could do it quite well with their extra arms. However, I haven't seen too many octopi quilting, so maybe there's some other drawbacks. However, I've cut out my circles, so we've got the templates for the circles. This one I'm doing is the second largest size, and I'm just doing a running thread all the way around. I'm using a double thread. I've knotted one end. I'm leaving the threads long because I want to be able to use those same threads to stitch the buttons on. So it's just a little covered circle, really. Nothing terribly technical about it. I just thought I'd show you how I do it so that you can do it too. So that's done. Now I'm going to tie a little knot. I'm still with the needle attached at the moment. Just a single knot for now. I'm going to pop the button inside, and I'm going to pull. This is where it's helpful to be an octopus. Pull this up nice and firm. So you can see it doesn't matter if the circle's not exact, it just gets pulled into shape. Pop a finger on it, or a spare finger, or an extra octopus arm, and tie that off nice and tight. And then that's pretty much it for covering the buttons. And then you're ready. If you've left your threads nice and long, you're ready now. I've already stitched this one on, ready to stitch the next one on, and all the others. I can just re-thread these back onto the needle. I've left them nice and long. I've been using this very delicious Aurifil thread, which I've done for all the quilting. I used it to stitch the binding on. I'm using it pretty much for everything. It is a very delicious nondescript colour, which has just blended so nicely on the dark, on the light, everything. So I'm really thrilled about that. I'm really thrilled about these circles. Now for positioning, I would suggest that you leave something like about 3/8 of an inch between each button as they graduate down. And some of them, there's only 5 buttons. If you look on the diagram, we can see this. Down here, there's only 5 buttons. The rest of them, there are 7 in graduating sizes. So it's really that simple, covering the buttons, just catching them in place, and then the wall hanging is going to be finished. So I've been busy finishing off my dots and strips. I'm really pleased with the way the quilts come up. I don't normally do quilting with a walking foot, so that's pretty exciting. Usually I just trust to my free motion, and I've got all my dots stitched on, I've got all the binding on, I've machined the binding on, I've got my hanging sleeve on the back there so that I can put a hanging rod in the back there, and that's pretty much it for dots and strips, and I'm pretty pleased that that's done. I think it looks really good. I'm really pleased with the way that's come out, and all those lines have stayed nice and straight. The quilting has helped with that, and there we have it.